Miami in southern Florida is where Americans go to get wet. The entire city is built on low-lying waterfront land. But every year the water is getting too close for comfort. This is how the city could look during the autumn tides.
As a scientist, people ask me when they hear what I do, they say, oh, so you believe in climate change? And I say, well, do you believe in thermometers? And do you believe in tide gauges? Because this is raw data. We're measuring the water getting higher and higher every year. This is nothing to argue about.
Keren Bolter is a geoscientist and a mother of two, trying to work out how Florida can adapt to what's coming.
I want my children to be able to bring their children to the beach. And the thought that that won't happen, it just breaks my heart. I love it here. This is my home. And I love this area. I want to be resilient.
I love you.
Something needs to happen. It needs to happen now. There's a huge sense of urgency. And to have our political leadership ignoring it at the state level, it's ridiculous.
Predictions of sea level rise go as high as 1.5 meters by the end of the century. NOAA, the US Oceanic Agency, has simulated what that would look like. Much of the waterfront would be underwater. But it's not just coastal properties at risk of flooding. Miami is built on a porous limestone basin. So during king tides, water simply rises up through the ground.
So when people think of sea level rise, they think of the oceans just consuming our land. That's not how it's going to be. What's actually going to happen is this issue of, over time, more and more flooding, more and more compromised drainage. And it's about these more and more days each year that we have this nuisance flooding.
One way to protect the coastline is to build seawalls deep in the ground. Keren takes me to a site where 2 lanes of the highway were washed away in a storm.
Here we are, 3 years later, more than $10 million in construction, and they're still trying to make it resilient.
Wow, and that's $10 million just for this half-mile stretch.
Yep.
A lot of coastline here to do that for, isn't there?
The cost of holding back the sea is enormous, and it's going to increase dramatically over time.
A helicopter flight shows the full scale of the folly.
You can see some of the estuary now. If they can keep the property values high enough, it keeps people coming down here.
The pilot, Matt Beamer, is a keen environmentalist who honed his skills mustering cattle in outback Australia before returning to Miami.
What's happened is many of these buildings on the water really started booming around the mid-70s to early 80s. It was before much congressional oversight or before much ecology oversight, before it was really a hot topic.
Adding to the risk, Miami is overdue for a massive hurricane. The last was in 1992.
I took an aerial flight after Hurricane Andrew, and it was pretty depressing. Everything was wet, all this is covered in water. I'd like to see my grandchildren in the future enjoy this how I do, but I fear that's not going to be the case. But you never know.
Back on the ground, city authorities are now struggling to cope with flooding. The city of Miami Beach has budgeted $400 million to elevate the main road and install pumps. Down the road in South Miami, the mayor is racing to hold back the tide. Phil Stoddart is a biology professor who likes to keep his carbon footprint small, rather like German wind farmers.
Zero emission car, I see. Well done.
Yep, and we charge it off the solar panels on the roof of our house.
Good for you.
And
He's trying to get state funding to build pumps and seawalls. It's not hard to see the problem.
yeah, it has changed over the years. I mean, it used to be you'd only get this on a unusual tide or hurricane conditions, but now it's pretty much every high tide will cover this path and inundate it. And, you know, respectable high tide will inundate the parking lot. So this is sort of the area in Miami where I like to watch sea level rise happening.
He says the state will fund flood alleviation, just don't mention climate change.
Ha! Well, the Department of Environmental Protection in Florida, which is underneath Governor Rick Scott, was told not to use the term climate change in any of their official proceedings or communications. And so you've got all these scientists and bureaucrats, technocrats, who are afraid to use the terms because they'll lose their jobs, or they got a pretty strong indication that they would. So I went into the Capitol Rotunda in Tallahassee and stuck my head and said, "Climate change," and the whole place cracked up.
Talk of rising seas has done little to stop the party here. Waterfront property is still booming. At our next stop, we're meeting skeptics who say there's no need to worry about the morning after. Once a year, an international conference dismisses man-made climate change. This year it was held in Washington, a short walk from the US Congress.
That man-made carbon dioxide...
Speaker after speaker argued carbon had hardly any effect on sea levels or temperatures, but was good for crops.
At Paris, this December, bleating representatives of almost 200 nations will gather in long-faced puritanical conclave to discuss a supposed problem whose very non-existence has come of age.
Now, this conference is run by a conservative think tank called the Heartland Institute. Now, they don't reveal where they get their money from, but it is known that in the past they received lots of money from oil and tobacco companies. They also have some serious political clout.
Today we thank him for holding the line until sanity returns to science, until our government once again returns to reason.
The 2015 keynote speaker was Jim Inhofe, a senator from the oil-rich state of Oklahoma, who also happens to chair the Senate Environment Committee.
And Jim was one of those senators when he was serving.
He calls the UN climate negotiations a power grab.
Think about it. Controlling carbon is a bureaucrat's dream. If you control carbon, you control life. And so that's what this is all about.
The senator is renowned for once throwing a snowball in the Senate chamber to show the world wasn't warming.
I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball. And that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
It remains a proud moment. He had it playing in the background during his speech.
But I had, there it is, right? Oh, there it is.
He insists skeptics have truth and God on their side.
We do this as a team. You'll be doing the Lord's work, and he will richly bless you for it. Amen.
But skeptics are facing an avalanche of scientific evidence of climate change and mounting social pressure.
Stand right up here and take a couple questions.
This year it was Pope Francis urging the world to act.
Is the Pope
Oh, everyone's going to ride the Pope now. Isn't that wonderful? Well, the Pope ought to stay with his job and let us stay with ours.
But California's drought has become an even bigger inconvenience to the skeptics' narrative. Now in its 4th year, it's been exacerbated by unusually high temperatures. Scientific studies link that to climate change, one calling it the worst drought in more than a century. We're heading to the town that's become known as the drought's ground zero.
Well, this is what used to be the lifeblood of Porterville, the Toole River, except it's gone. What's worse than that is that the groundwater has sunk so low that the wells people dug outside the city to get water have run completely dry. So for literally thousands of people here, there's no water to wash in, no water to drink.
This is considered non-potable.
Donna Johnson is 72 and volunteers to deliver water to homes outside the city.
Just in this clustered area, maybe 25 to 3,000 people out of water.
She began her rounds 2 years ago when wells started running dry.
We ran out of water, and then I went to the local filling station that we go to, and I found out that he said other people were out of water, and I thought this didn't sound right.
She literally goes door to door, bringing large tubs of water for washing and small bottles for drinking. Much of it comes from the county authorities, but she also relies on big retailers to donate water.
These people are from Australia, and this is Juana Garcia. And
Hello.
She's been without water since February last year.
Que es la única que me ha ayudado en todo este tiempo. Aquí con el vecino, pues él ya no me dio porque dijo que se le iba a acabar a él. Y este vecino, con él casi nunca hablamos. No, como que no le gusta así la raza hispana.
Yeah, I lived in the tornado area, and this is just as devastating in a different way, in a silent way, in a slow way. And it's hard for some people to understand unless they know what these people are going through. And I say these people, we've been going through it too. And I go through it every day in my heart when I see Juana having to do this with her kids, and her kids having to grow up this way.
The drought has increased inequality. Mainly white residents in Porterville still enjoy piped water. But next door in East Porterville, mainly Hispanic residents have always had to rely on wells. The wells are now so dry, people are forced to use community showers. With water this scarce for washing, it's even scarcer for farming. Jesus Ramos used to live the American dream. A Mexican migrant who started as a fruit picker and worked hard enough to buy 6 small ranches. But over the past 3 years, the price of irrigation water has increased 6-fold.
They're my jewels. I love them. The drought is bringing on an enormous uncertainty, and it's something that we were not even thinking about 3 years ago. Never crossed my mind that we would have this situation. What could ultimately do to people like me, the farmers, and especially the workers, I don't even want to think about that.
He's now paying more to water his crops than he can get from selling them. He's had to clear the less productive fields and farms the others at a loss.
What's going to happen if it goes on for longer than 4 years, if it's 5 years, 6 years?
I think ultimately the whole valley, all these little communities will be pretty emptied out. People will move on. You have to make a living. Chase the water, people say. Go to the northern states, Oregon, Washington.
So actually move to chase the water. Move states to chase water.
Yes, chase the water. I don't want to do that. I don't want to move. I don't want to go anywhere.
But just 4 hours' drive from Porterville, the pessimism turns to optimism. It's California's famous Bay Area, where the neighbouring cities of San Francisco, Berkeley and Oakland revel in disrupting the establishment. The buzz here isn't about problems, but solutions.
Californian entrepreneurs have long prided themselves on connecting innovative ideas with cold, hard cash to really shake up the market. There was Silicon Valley and then the dot-com boom of the 90s, and today the challenge of climate change is fueling a whole new boom in renewable energy. Thank you.
Sorry I can't do audio.
Danny Kennedy is one of the new pioneers, though in his case he's gone east from Australia.
The office is just over here, so I'll go there now. Yeah.
He was a Greenpeace activist who decided to go into the sunshine business.
Wow, glorious sunshine.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day, and Oakland is like this 9 months of the year.
In 2008, he and two partners set up a small solar energy company. Now it has 1,000 employees.
Welcome to Sungevity. So,
wow.
And now we're the sort of largest privately held solar service business in the US, and we're also in Europe, in the Netherlands, Germany, and the UK.
Long way from home.
The innovation was largely software. It was an idea we created in Australia but needed to build out with software engineers. And they do that well in the San Francisco Bay Area, as you know.
Their software enables them to design solar installations remotely from satellite images, working out how best to position panels for the sun. Software breakthroughs are helping make solar one of California's fastest growing industries.
The solar industry has employed 55,000 Californians. That's more than Twitter, Google, Facebook, and Apple combined. As a national employer, the solar industry is huge. It's bigger than the coal mining industry now across the US. California's leading the charge on this stuff, and it's doing well for the economy. Now we're at 25% of electricity in the state from renewable sources. The governor is going to lift the target from 33% currently to 50%. What San Francisco probably was back in the day. Yeah.
Danny's also set up a company to mentor young solar entrepreneurs.
So here is the Sun Cube.
Hello.
This is Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Eric.
I started the Sun Cube with Emily, and she's the CEO.
So when Danny and I started SpunCube about 2.5 years ago, we had just 2 companies, a couple months runway. We were really making it up as we went. But today we have 20 solar startups, 200 entrepreneurs.
So it's a booming industry?
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be $1 trillion industry in the years to come that people can power their lives with sunshine.
This is the kind of space we have. We have 3 floors.
The holy grail is improving storage, so people can still have power when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow.
We'll need battery storage, we'll need complementary technologies, and that's what all these other startups are starting to create.
The other challenge is bringing power to people who have none.
Welcome to Power Hive. This is actually the office building that Sungevity started in, really.
Okay.
And this company is one of the companies that came out of our incubator, SpunCube. But it's a really exciting business going into Kenya and providing electricity in these emerging markets like Africa. So here's the team.
So this is what a startup looks like.
This is Danny.
It's come up with an
Eric.
ingenious way to bring more solar to Africa.
We do electricity for villages that don't have electricity.
From here?
From here.
Power Hive does in remote villages what utilities do in cities. It sets up a power grid that families can tap into and choose how much energy they use. The software allows people who don't have bank accounts to pay for power by phone.
Even people with no electricity in their village have a cell phone. They use mobile money as a payment mechanism. So they have an account with a mobile money provider and they can send money to anybody. So they send money to us for electricity and we will provide a certain amount of electricity based on how much money they send us.
They've done a handful of villages. It's been wildly successful. And now the government of Kenya has actually granted them the right to become the sort of electricity utility in this county that they're operating in, which means thousands and thousands of families will be getting electricity. Because at the end of the day, electricity in the 21st century, it's not going to be done with coal. It's not going to be done with nukes. Steve is actually out of the nuclear industry. And here he is now engineering this software hardware bundle to deliver electricity through solar power to people in Kenya.
Rooftop solar is just part of the mix.
Brian.
Good to meet you, sir.
Hello, Eric.
At dawn, we visit a solar farm on a former orchard outside San Francisco.
This is our solar plant.
Let's have a look. Like it?
So we have about 73,000 panels.
And they power 6,000 homes.
So California has phased out its coal-fired power plants. It's almost all natural gas now.
If old power utilities had their way, plants like this would have never seen the light of day.
We have a state mandate that says the utilities have to have a certain portion of their portfolio in renewables, and we're just taking advantage of that.
Now that California is moving to 50% renewable, utilities are investing in solar to share the benefit. The finance for this plant was raised by a hard-headed businessman and lifelong Republican, John Bonn.
As you begin to get costs down, as you begin to get people sensitized to the concerns about climate change, and it becomes less and less a burden on the taxpayer, I say this as a Republican, it's one of those examples where a policy initiative by government actually was necessary to get the ball rolling. The potential is huge.
In fact, so huge, he believes the industry will soon be able to compete without government help.
I'm guessing 3 to 5 years. It'll come that soon. A lot of the cost competitiveness that has driven the cost down has come, for example, from production facilities in China. That's where all the panels come from.
So if you're advising a young man or woman what industry they should go into, would you suggest coal or renewables?
I wouldn't advise any friend of mine to go in the coal business. I have some people I might advise to go into the coal business, but
Today's young entrepreneurs are flocking to solar.
We need to get off the curse of fossil fuels, the legacy of the 20th century. We have to stop cooking the planet, protect our kids' futures. It's going to take the innovative spirit, the entrepreneurial can-do Californian know-how in this room and around the state and around the world to make that happen. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you for being here. Thank you for driving solar for universal need. Shine on.
Yes, that's it. Now, one thing you got to have, one thing you cannot do without if you're going to make kilowatt soul stew is a quarter pound of Oakland horns.
There is a genuine excitement here, and it's not just about money. Everyone dreams of becoming the next Steve Jobs and saving the planet.
travelling the world talking to people who take the science of climate change seriously, it's very easy to get daunted by the enormity of the problem. Which is why coming here is so inspiring, because you also see how close the world is to a solution. And what's more important is that it's starting to make real commercial sense. And it's obvious that the kind of change the world needs really is possible.
So will the UN's climate negotiations limit global warming to 2 degrees?
We're hearing all these governments come forward pledging, oh, we pledge to reduce emissions by 40%. Australia says 26%. They change the start date and so on. But if you add it up, it doesn't add up to 2 degrees, which is what they promised in Copenhagen. So we already know that. So I think it's pretty foolish to pretend that Paris is going to save the world, that there's going to be some miracle.
No, it isn't too late, and science tells us that, you know. Now, is the door closing? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. But, you know, I am an optimist at heart, otherwise I couldn't do my job. So when I look at a door and I see, you know, a tiny little crack, I'm like, well, we are walking through that crack.
This journey has taken us to the heart of the problems and potential solutions. What's clear is that the climate is already changing for the worse. But clean energy is at last emerging as a serious rival to carbon fuels. It could still take generations to replace them. Just how long depends on how much this generation is prepared to do.
Well, it is too late to stop climate change. It's happening. But there are degrees of bad. There are literally degrees of bad. 2 degrees is bad. 3 is worse. 4 is a lot worse. The World Bank says we're headed towards 4 degrees of warming. If we can make this better than what it's headed for, we have a moral responsibility to do so.